There's a very specific kind of frustration that happens when you eat the healthy meal with the clean protein, the vegetables, the good fats, with the intention of feeling energized after. And then 20 or 30 minutes later, your belly feels tight, swollen, uncomfortable, and you're sitting there thinking, what just happened? And why do I now look 6 months pregnant? Because when bloating keeps showing up after meals, it can start to feel like every food is a mystery. Is it the gluten, the dairy, the vegetables, the way the meal was combined? And really, the answer may not be as simple as one single food being the problem, as there is often a lot more going on behind the scenes that needs to be addressed. So in this video, I'll show you why bloating after eating is often a signal from your gut and nervous system, and how food sensitivities, leaky gut, and gut dysbiosis can make even healthy meals feel uncomfortable. And a few gentle food and lifestyle tweaks you can start using to help your body shift into better digestion with more ease. But before we get into the specific tweaks, I want you to picture your digestive system like the security line at a concert venue. When everything is working well, people move through smoothly. Tickets get checked, the right people get in, and the whole night feels calm and organized. But if security gets overwhelmed, things start to back up. The line gets crowded. People get frustrated, and a few people may slip through who weren't supposed to. And suddenly, the whole event feels a little chaotic. This is similar to what can happen in your gut. When your gut lining is irritated, your microbiome is imbalanced, or your immune system is reacting to certain foods, digestion can start to feel less smooth and more reactive. And then, if your nervous system is also in fight or flight, it's like asking that security team to do their job while there's an alarm going off in the background. Of course, things are going to feel harder. So when you feel bloated after eating, the question is not just, what food did I eat to cause this? It's also, what kind of environment did that food enter? Because sometimes the food is part of the story, but the state of your gut and nervous system may be the bigger piece. So let's start with the gut environment, because a lot of people assume bloating means I ate too much or I chose the wrong food. And sometimes that can be true. But very often, bloating has less to do with one single meal or food and more to do with the current state of your digestive system. A healthy digestive system is doing a lot at once. It has to break down food, absorb nutrients, keep inflammation low, maintain a strong gut lining, and keep the microbiome balanced enough that food can move through without creating a lot of extra gas, pressure, or discomfort. And this is why two people can eat the exact same meal and have completely different responses. One person may feel light and energized and comfortable. Another person may feel tight, gassy, or like their belly expanded within the hour. The meal may be the same, but the environment that the meal enters may be very different. So before we jump straight into removing foods, one of the gentlest places to start is simply slowing the meal down. Believe it or not, digestion doesn't begin in the stomach. It actually begins in the nose and in the mouth. The very first signal the body receives when it is getting ready to digest a meal is the smell. When you smell your food, you start to secrete saliva, which contains enzymes that help with your digestion. Then, after you take the first bite, and when you chew well, your food gets physically broken down into smaller pieces and mixed with those digestive enzymes, giving the rest of your digestive system less work to do. But when you're eating quickly, eating while distracted, or barely chewing before the next bite, fewer enzymes are getting mixed with your food, and larger pieces of food are moving into the stomach and intestines, and that can make digestion feel heavier. So one simple tweak is to practice slowing down, even just a little. Just enough that your body has a chance to receive the meal. You might put your fork down between bites and chew more thoroughly. You might take one full breath before you start eating. You might notice the smell of the food, the temperature, or even the texture before you begin to eat your meal. These tiny shifts can sound almost too simple, but they matter because they help your digestive system do what it was designed to do with a little more ease. And if bloating is happening often, especially after foods you used to tolerate well, then we also want to look one layer deeper at the gut lining itself. Your gut lining is one of the most important pieces of this conversation. And the simplest way to think about it is this. Your gut lining is supposed to be selective. It allows the good things through, like nutrients from your food, while helping keep larger food particles, toxins, and other unwanted substances out of places they don't belong. But when the gut lining becomes irritated or inflamed, it can become more permeable. This is what people are often talking about when they use the phrase leaky gut. And when that barrier is not as strong as we want it to be, the immune system can become more activated. So now, instead of food moving through smoothly and being broken down and absorbed the way we want it to be, the body may start responding to certain foods with more inflammation, more irritation, and more digestive symptoms. And for a lot of people, that can show up as bloating. But it can also show up as gas, discomfort, brain fog, fatigue, skin changes, or even joint discomfort. This is why gut integrity matters so much. Because when the gut lining is supported, digestion often feels calmer. Food can move through with more ease. The immune system doesn't have to be quite so reactive. And the whole digestive process can feel less inflamed and less uncomfortable. Now, this is also where temporary food removal can be helpful. And I really want to emphasize the word temporary, because the goal is not to make your food world smaller and smaller. The goal is to not label a bunch of foods as bad forever. The goal is to reduce the inflammatory burden for a short season so the gut has a chance to heal. Sometimes when food is creating a lot of immune activation or irritation, continuing to eat that food over and over can make it harder for the gut lining to repair. So removing it for a period of time can create a quieter environment. And when that's paired with gut healing support, the body may be able to rebuild more tolerance over time. So if you've noticed that foods you used to tolerate are suddenly making you feel bloated or uncomfortable, that doesn't always mean those foods are gone forever. It may simply mean your gut is asking for support right now. And the next question becomes, how do we know which foods are worth temporarily removing? Because guessing can get overwhelming really quickly. And that's where food sensitivity testing can give us a much clearer roadmap. IgG food sensitivities are one of the reasons bloating can feel so confusing. Because unlike an immediate food allergy where someone may react right away, food sensitivities can be much more delayed. You may eat something on Monday and then feel more bloated, foggy, achy, tired, or inflamed on Tuesday or Wednesday. And by that point, most people are not thinking back to what they ate a day or two ago. They're thinking about the meal they just had. This is part of why it can feel like you're reacting to everything. But often, it's not everything. It may be a smaller number of foods that are creating immune activation right now. And because those reactions can be delayed, they're just really hard to identify on your own. With IgG food sensitivities specifically, that immune response can stay active in the body for up to 56 days after eating that food. So if you're eating a reactive food over and over, even if it seems healthy, your body may not be getting much of a break from that inflammatory signal. And this is why testing can be so helpful. Because instead of guessing or removing random foods or feeling afraid of every meal, testing can give us a clearer picture of what foods may be contributing to inflammation and bloating right now. In my practice, the 4 foods I most commonly see show up are gluten, dairy, yeast, and eggs. Now, that does not mean those foods are automatically a problem for everyone. It simply means that for some people, especially when the gut lining is irritated or the immune system is already more activated, those foods may be worth looking at more closely. Some people may notice improvement by temporarily reducing or removing one or more of those foods. But ideally, we don't want to guess forever. We want to identify what may be contributing, remove those foods for a season, support the healing and restoration of the gut lining and microbiome, and then reintroduce foods strategically when the body is ready and has had time to rebuild its integrity. Ultimately, the goal is to help your digestive system feel calmer, reduce the inflammatory burden, and work toward better tolerance over time while still enjoying a diversified diet. But food sensitivities are only one piece, because sometimes bloating is less about an immune reaction to a specific food and more about what's happening with the microbes inside the gut. So let's talk about gut dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is a word we use when the balance of microbes in the gut has shifted in a less supportive direction. Your gut is home to trillions of microbes, including bacteria, yeast, and other microorganisms. And many of them are incredibly helpful. They support digestion, immune function, nutrient production, and the health of the gut lining. But when that inner ecosystem becomes imbalanced, certain microbes can become overrepresented. And when that happens, foods may ferment more aggressively in the gut. And that fermentation creates gas. And that gas can create pressure, distension, discomfort. And that, why does my belly feel so expanded after eating feeling? This is one reason a food can be technically healthy and still not feel good in your body right now. A big raw salad, a smoothie packed with fiber, beans, cruciferous vegetables, or even certain fruits can all be beautiful, nutrient-rich foods. But in a gut that is irritated, inflamed, or imbalanced, those foods may feel like too much at one time. So this is where gentle meal simplification can be really helpful. And I've seen these shifts alone bring more digestive comfort to my clients. You might try fewer ingredients in one sitting. You might choose cooked vegetables instead of a large raw salad. You might moderate the amount of fiber at a meal and spread it throughout the day instead of loading up all at once. You might avoid stacking several harder to digest foods together while your gut is asking for support. And this can be part of a gentle food combining practice too. In short, Food combining is a simple, practical way where you're asking, how can I make this meal easier for my body to digest right now? Maybe that looks like protein, cooked vegetables, and a simple starch. Maybe it looks like spacing out fruit from a heavier animal protein containing meal. Maybe it looks like noticing that beans and raw cruciferous vegetables together feel like too much. But each one separately feels okay. These small adjustments can reduce the digestive workload while you're supporting the deeper gut pieces. And another simple lifestyle support here is a short walk after meals. Just 10 minutes of relaxed movement. A gentle walk can support bowel motility, help food move through the digestive tract, and reduce that heavy, stuck feeling after eating. Ultimately, it's about listening to the feedback from your body after you eat and making the meal a little easier for your gut to work with. And once you understand that, the next piece becomes even more important. Because even a simple, gut-friendly meal may still feel uncomfortable if your nervous system is not in a state that supports digestion. This is the piece that surprises a lot of people, because we often think of digestion as something that only depends on food. But digestion is deeply connected to the nervous system. Your body has to feel safe enough to digest. When you're in fight or flight, your body is prioritizing survival. It's sending resources toward your heart, lungs, muscles, and alertness, which is exactly what we want if we're in a true emergency. But if you're sitting down to eat while your body is still carrying the pace of the day, be it rushing, multitasking, scrolling, answering emails, thinking about everything you still need to do, then your digestion may not be the priority in that moment. In that state, stomach acid production, digestive enzyme production, gut motility, and nutrient absorption can all be affected in a negative way. And that can contribute to food feeling like it's sitting heavier, moving slower, or creating more bloating and discomfort. It's important to remember that the gut and brain are constantly communicating with each other through what's called the gut-brain axis. And one of the main communication pathways is the vagus nerve. So when your nervous system is dysregulated and stuck in that fight or flight state, your digestion can feel dysregulated too. This is why the way you enter a meal matters. Eating lunch while answering emails or driving is a very different signal to the body than sitting down, taking a breath, smelling your food, and giving your system a moment to arrive. The food may be exactly the same, but the digestive response may be completely different. So one of the most helpful tweaks here is creating a tiny pre-meal regulation practice. And I do mean tiny. We're not trying to turn every meal into a perfect wellness ceremony. We're simply giving the body a cue that it is safe enough to digest now. One option is a cyclic sigh breath. You take an inhale through the nose, add a small second inhale at the top, and then a long, slow exhale out the mouth, usually with an audible sigh. You can repeat that for 1 or 2 minutes before eating. And another option is coherent breathing. This is where you inhale for 6 seconds and exhale for 6 seconds, repeating that rhythm for a few rounds. And if you want something even simpler, just pause before the first bite. Look at the food, smell the food, take 1 or 2 slow breaths. Let your body register that food is here. You are here. And this is the moment to digest. It may sound small, but for someone who has been eating in a rushed, tense, distracted state for years, that small pause can be a very different experience for the nervous system. And once your body starts getting that cue more often, and you can show up to this practice consistently, meals can begin to feel a little softer, steadier, and easier to digest. Now, alongside the deeper work of supporting the gut lining, identifying food sensitivities, improving microbial balance, and regulating the nervous system, there are a few gentle digestive supports that can be helpful too. And one of my favorites is digestive supportive tea. Herbs like fennel, chamomile, peppermint, lemon balm, and ginger have been used for a long time to support the belly and help the body settle after meals. And I love this because it's simple. A warm cup of tea after eating can become more than just the herbs themselves. It can become a pause, a softening, a small signal to your belly and nervous system that the meal is complete and your body can settle into digestion. So if bloating is something you experience often, you might experiment with a cup of tea after meals and notice how your body responds. For some people, peppermint feels wonderful. For others, ginger or fennel feels more supportive. And chamomile and lemon balm can be especially lovely when the bloating seems to come with tension, stress, or that wired feeling in the body. And again, this is not a replacement for the deeper work if bloating is persistent, but it can be a beautiful support while you're addressing the root pieces. Because ultimately, reducing bloating after eating is not about finding one perfect food rule. It's about understanding the bigger conversation happening between your gut, your immune system, your microbiome, and your nervous system. And then supporting those systems gently, consistently, and in the right order. Now, while these gentle shifts can be incredibly helpful, it can still feel hard to know what your body is asking for first. So if you want support figuring out where to start, click the link in the description below. I'd love to talk with you to look at what's been going on inside your body and see how I can support you one-on-one.